feeling low. Life's a grind, man, it was moving slow. Tired of the struggles, tired of the fight. They turned to the meat and it felt so right. With steaks on their plates and the grill fired up, they found a new rhythm and filled their cup. Joy started flowing, laughter's out of sight. Now they're living loud, embracing the night. Yeah, they went full carnivore and the joy has begun. Sickness and gloom like shadows they run. With every bite taken, they're feeling so great. Sharing their message, they just can't wait. So tune in, my friend, each Wednesday night. Join Real Talk with Brian and Johnny. What a sight. Oh, what a sight.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are live. Johnny, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Brian. Hope you are.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for this potential snowstorm this weekend. So,
yep.
Couple days here. Let's see. It's Wednesday night, right? Yeah. So we got like 3 days here to get ready. So, all right. I see some people jumping in here already. Cynthia is here. She says, "Good evening, Brian and Johnny. Doing an egg fast right now. Does that count as fasting in your opinion?" Actually, I plan on doing 3-day water and dry fast once a month, done with January. What do you think about that, Johnny?
I think
fast.
Egg fast. It's a type of fast because I think and we'll get into this a little bit later, Brian, but I think the purpose of a fast is to bring that insulin level way down, right? Your fasting insulin level, bring that way down, get into good, deep nutritional ketosis. And I would assume doing an egg fast, I know eggs do have trace carbs in there. You stay under 1 or 2 carbs. I think you're accomplishing the same thing as a regular fast because you're just keeping that insulin level baseline really, really low. So yeah, I give it 2 thumbs up. I've not done an egg fast before, but I've seen people online do it, but I think it counts as a fast.
Yeah, I have not either. But another one that I hear people talk about sometimes is fat fast, where all they eat is fat for like 24 hours or 48 hours or something like that. Yep. That's kind of, same type of principle, I guess. So,
sure.
All right, we'll talk about fasting a little bit more here in a little bit, but let's say hello to everybody. Linda's here. Hello.
Hey, Linda.
Rocking Coach Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
DC, Wisconsin is here. Hello.
Good to have you back.
Paul, he says hit that the thumbs up. I could think of the right word I want to say. So yes, hit the like button. Paul also says fasting never goes past 22 hours, which is fine because that's probably, depending on how he's doing it, an intermittent fast, which is another type of fasting. We'll talk about that too. Linda says they changed our snow to ice. Yeah, where I'm at, they're saying that they think there's going to be some more ice, but they're still calling for snow first and then ice. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Bride's Biscuit. Good evening, Brian, Johnny, and fam. Hello. Amy has been fasting for 36 to 40 hours every Sunday through Monday. Bacon Runner.
Hey, Bacon Runner.
Thomas, Target Prime Rib. Hello.
Hey, Thomas.
Cynthia says, done fat fast and just finished up with a sardine fast. Lost 6 pounds during the sardine one. I've heard of sardine fast too. I don't think I'll ever try one, but more power to you. Aaron just did a 4-day egg fast in her group. We did a 72-hour sardine fast before that. Some of us have been doing 24 to 48-hour water fasts to start every week. All right. Let's see. Carnivore Jerry. Hello from Second Shift Work. And I think that catches us up with the comments. All right. So our topic, like we said for tonight, has to do with fasting. There's lots of different types of fasting and different things you can do and so forth. Johnny, No, we were trying to figure out a topic. You came up with this topic. Do you want to get us started here? Get the discussion going tonight?
Sure, Brian. I been thinking about this a lot. Last Wednesday, when we were having our show, I can't remember who it was, but one of our newer viewers was asking you to explain about fasting and how you do fasting. And there's Rick. He prefers feasting to fasting, and that's probably appropriate for Rick because he's not trying to work through some of these metabolic issues that the rest of us have. Rick has, and that was one of the questions I asked in my video today in promoting tonight's live stream. Who needs to fast versus who doesn't need to fast? Rick, who probably has zero inflammation or next to zero, has no metabolic, sickness, if you will, because he's been carnivore for 40 years, or what do we say, 40-something years. He probably doesn't need to fast. But if you're like me and a bunch of other people, and you have a bunch of excess visceral fat, you have a bunch of excess weight, you're just trying to get your body back into nutritional ketosis, then that's the person that probably could benefit the most from fasting. And everybody fasts to some degree, Brian. If you go to bed at 10 at night and you get up at 6 in the morning, that's 8 hours or whatever that you didn't eat unless you got up and ate in the middle of the night. So everybody fasts to some degree. It just depends on how long you go without eating. What determines the type of fast you're doing. Obviously, somebody earlier said that they've done the sardine fast, they've done the egg fast, the fat fast. A thing that I've done in the past, I haven't done it lately, but I'm thinking about going back to it, is the alternate day fasting, where you just eat one day and fast the next, eat one day and fast the next. And that's probably how 20,000 years ago we would have done. You probably didn't kill something every day. Have a kill, drag it home into the cave or whatever. You would feast, eat nose to tail, whatever it was you killed. And then it might be a day or two before you got a chance to eat again. So that's probably more evolutionary, like we would have done years and years and years ago. But anyway, everybody fasts to some degree. Brian, I know you did some experimenting with fasting either the very beginning of the year or the end of last year. I know you did a couple of 48s, you did a 72. Why don't you tell us how it made you feel? How hard was it? And what prompted you to do that?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to bring up, Rick says he technically fasts 12 hours, last meal 7 p.m., first meal 7 a.m. Yep. So before I go into the question you just asked, one thing I wanted to bring up. So our term of breakfast, right? We always think of breakfast as like a morning thing. The original idea of breakfast is it was to break a fast, and that's why it was called break fast, breakfast. And it wasn't necessarily specifically in the morning. It was just to represent the time that you were going to eat again, to finally break a fast after not eating for whatever amount of time it was. Okay. So yeah, I did think it was like November-ish time frame, maybe. I did my first real fast outside of like an intermittent fast, which most of the time that I've been carnivore, I've been doing intermittent fasting, like Rick, where he's just 12 hours there. I'll typically do somewhere between 16, 18 to maybe 24 hours intermittent fast because I'll eat once or twice a day. But in November, I started to do some longer fasting, and these are water fasts. And the first couple times, I think I did 48 hours, or just the first time I think was 48. Second time was like 50, 54, 55, somewhere in there. And then I did like a 72-hour fast. I think I did a couple 72-hour fasts actually. And I really liked how I felt from it. The interesting thing that I found is that once I got to about 24 hours, so basically doing like OMAD, right? You get to that 24-hour period. Instead of eating, if I just kept going, I didn't seem to get hungry anymore. Like where sometimes, you hit like 18, 20 hours, you start to get hungry there for a few hours, and then you end up eating probably closer to 24 hours if you're doing OMAD. Well, I would just go past that, and then the hunger pains kind of went away. And so I was good. I will say that when I did 72 hours, the one thing I had to watch for was my electrolytes. As I got close, maybe 68, 70 hours or so, I'd start to feel maybe a little bit lightheaded. So I knew that I needed a little bit of salt or something. So I just got some salt with the water that I was drinking, that kind of thing. And that usually took care of that. But overall, I think I felt better. Like I felt maybe happier. Didn't really feel any type of issues from it. My heart rate seemed to get lower even, which is good with a person that, has AFib, even though I haven't gone into an episode in like 3.5 years. That's something that it's always good to have a lower heart rate, a better resting heart rate. And I'm talking like not anything crazy, but like, low 60s, maybe upper 50s, that type of thing for a resting heart rate. So yeah, that all seemed to go well. The one thing I'll say is when I've done like a 48 or a 72 hour fast on like an 18 or a 24-hour fast, I do have to ease back into it. I think most people do. If you just go straight into eating a big meal right away, you're typically your digestive system kind of shut down a little bit. And when you start back up, you're going to get diarrhea and have to go to the bathroom several times if you just jump right into it. So that's kind of my experiences that I've had with doing a longer term fast. And again, my fasts were water fasts. So I was still drinking water. I haven't done a dry fast. Johnny, have you had any experience with doing like a dry fast? Have you tried that yet?
I haven't, Brian, but I do know that the more I pay attention, the more I pay attention to it, the more I realize I don't drink enough. I'm sipping on some LaCroix unflavored sparkling water now, but I think I could do a dry fast. I don't know if I could do beyond 24 hours, but when I'm at working, and I'll take a big bottle of water with me to work, and then I work 12, 13 hours. When I clock out, I realize I never even opened the bottle. So I think I could probably, especially in the wintertime when it's not too hot and I'm not sweating, I could probably do a 24-hour water fast. I haven't done it yet, but maybe in the future I'll give that a try and kind of report back to how I felt, if it changed anything. It's not as unsafe as I thought it was. You see a lot of influencers or people talking about doing a 24-hour water fast. Your body makes water. When you start burning carbohydrates, you go into the ketosis and stuff like that. Your body makes water. And so I wouldn't go more than 24 hours, but I mean, some people do, but I think 24 hours is probably okay. You hear about people that are, if a cave collapses or a building collapses and people are pinned in for 2 or 3 days and they're finally, rescued, and they'll go that whole time without drinking any water. So it might not be too dangerous, but I just have never done it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hello, Susan. And thank you for the nice comments. I think, and I wonder about this. Like, I've heard of some people that are trying to do a dry fasting where they're not drinking any water or anything. And they get past that 24, maybe 48 hours. Some people really have a hard time with it, and their body starts to react badly and stuff, right? Professor Bart K has done tests, I guess, of doing this on his channel. And I think as he's gotten to like 3-4 days, he starts to have problems and he has to stop doing it. And I kind of wonder your thoughts on it, what might be the reason for that. But the first thought that I can think of is maybe it's more of like an electrolyte issue because they're not getting anything. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's something else that maybe some people have those issues?
That's probably the case, Brian. But if you drink just regular tap water, you're really not getting any electrolytes. You and I both know, that's why we started adding so much salt, even salt in our water. Because if you just drink a lot of water without the electrolytes, you actually deplete the electrolytes even more. I think when you go, say, beyond 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours with a fast, especially if you have any type of problems with your kidneys, if your kidneys are not optimal, that can be really, really tough on your kidneys. Your kidneys don't do well when you're dehydrated. So I would just be careful of that. But just drinking pure water, like, I mean, because you can drink water, you're flushing out electrolytes like crazy. Same thing when you first go keto or carnivore and you pee so much, you're peeing out all those electrolytes. So if you drink a ton of water, tap water, you're not replacing those electrolytes. You can actually make the situation worse, even though you feel like you're drinking water. What gets you to hold on to that water is the electrolytes, the sodium, potassium, magnesium, specifically sodium. Water follows salt. So, yeah, you got to be careful drinking a lot of water without putting those electrolytes in, because that can be detrimental to your kidneys as well. So those electrolytes, I think you said last week, Brian, or maybe a week before last, it's such a balance. There's not, you don't need X amount of sodium and X amount of potassium and magnesium. It's a balance. Those things have to work together. You can have too much of one or not enough of the other. So drinking a lot of water to try to stay hydrated may not be the best thing if you don't pay attention to those electrolytes. And let me say one thing, Brian. My longest fast I did last end of June into July. I think I broke my fast on July the 4th. Was 100 hours. I felt great doing it, but the last 6 or 8 hours, probably 92 to 100, I felt terrible. But I took no electrolytes whatsoever. Big mistake on my part. I felt really good when I got through, when I did eat, and I just had like 3 scrambled eggs and a little bit of butter trying to ease in, and I still ran to the bathroom. But it was a good fast. I want to do another fast. I like to do a 1 week fast, a 7-day fast, but I will definitely pay more attention to replacing my electrolytes. I've got some of the LMNT electrolytes, the unflavored ones. And so if I do another extended fast, and I probably will within the next couple of months, I'll make sure that I stay on top of my electrolytes so that those aren't miserable. It was pretty rough those last few hours.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, so I think I did pretty good with this in November and December, and I haven't done anything really in January. I haven't gone past a 24-hour intermittent fast at this point here in January. So I need to get back on track with doing that. And the reason why is because the main reason that I started doing some fasting is trying to get rid of some body fat, right? I still have, I know I'm 3.5 years into carnivore, but I still have some belly fat that I can get rid of. Probably even a little bit here in the cheeks, that you can see that I can still get rid of and stuff. So fasting tends to be very good for that kind of thing, right? So I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more fasting, at least like 1 every week or 2. I'd like to do like 48 to 72 hour fast. And of course, I pretty much do an intermittent fast normally anyway. And then, of course, the other thing that I want to do is more some sort of exercise. And I've been doing push-ups. And I think from everything I've been hearing, watching different doctors on YouTube and just reading different articles and stuff, it seems like some of the best benefits for working out, whether it's like sprinting or doing push-ups or lifting weights or whatever, is on an empty stomach, fasted. So actually I have planned it like in November, December, when I did some sort of push-ups or whatever I did, I kind of planned it so that I was well into my fast when I did those workouts. And contrary to belief from what you normally typically hear from people, you don't have problems with energy when you're fasting like that on an empty stomach. It seemed to me like I had even better energy doing whatever type of workout thing I was doing, and was able to do just as good, if not better, than what I normally would do when I'm doing a workout like that and eating on the same day. So,
well, if you think about it, Brian, if you were a hunter-gatherer 20,000 years ago, and it's Monday, and you go out there and you don't kill anything, right? You didn't eat at all. And you go out there Tuesday and you didn't kill anything, so you didn't eat at all. You're not going to get slower and weaker. You're going to get stronger, faster, sharper, because now for you to survive and for your species to survive, you've got to be getting better, stronger, faster, leaner, meaner, everything, because you're gonna go extinct. Your species will go extinct, or you and your family will go extinct. So think about it. Would you rather go against a lion who just got through eating a big meal, or a lion who hadn't eaten in 3 days? I don't want that hungry lion, because he or she is going to really, really, really be aggressive trying to get a meal, because it's so important that you eat. So I think, yeah, that we got to turn that upside down. You got to eat before you work out, carb load, blah, blah, blah. No, my fastest times, I got those timing systems. So when I do my sprints, I love to time myself and challenge. And I probably should do a video about this, but I've done sprints on where I ate breakfast, bacon and eggs, and then waited about an hour and a half and went out and did sprints. And then I did sprints when I'd fasted for like 48 hours. I was markedly fasted, markedly. And my recovery was faster too. I would get through sprinting and within 30, 45 seconds, let's line up and do it again, versus waiting 3 or 4 minutes to run the next one. So my own little N of 1 experiment showed me that I'm faster in my sprints on a fast. I mean, I don't know if it'd be 7 days into a fast, but 24 to 48 hours into fast, I'm actually a good bit faster, and my recovery time is better than if I sprint on basically a full stomach.
All right. So DC, Wisconsin has a comment here, a fellow person with AFib, like we both have.
Yep.
I'm able to fast for 16 to 17 hours without problems. After 17 to 18 hours, I can feel very, very weak when I break my fast. I worry about my AFib kicking in. I'm going to ask you what you think here, but first, really quickly, my thought, and just really quick, is that I don't think fasting is a problem for AFib per se. I think it actually helps, because the less often we eat, the better for our body. Like when we eat, your heart rate usually goes up a little bit and stuff like that, and that can contribute to AFib. So I think fasting is probably better, but the key might be, it sounds like you have similar to me where you go in and out of AFib, which again, I haven't gone in 3.5 years, but before, when I was going into AFib, I would go in and out. And one of the big issues with that is your electrolytes, and fasting could, like we already said, cause problems with your electrolytes. So that would be something to definitely keep an eye on, that you could be a little worried. And, if what you're doing is working with the 16 to 17 hours, 18 hours, just keep at that and don't even worry about doing any kind of longer term fast. That's what I did for 3 years. So what are your thoughts on that, Johnny?
Well, let's break it down, Brian. Your body runs off one of 2 fuel sources. You're either burning carbohydrates or you're burning fat, ketone bodies or ketones. There is no third option. You don't burn protein. Your body takes protein and turns it into carbohydrates through gluconeogenesis, right? So you're either burning fat, ketones, or you're burning carbohydrates. When you fast, you stop burning the glucose and you begin burning the ketones. Now, ketones is a much, much cleaner burning fuel. There's no oxidation from burning ketones for energy. So the heart, the brain, the liver, and the kidneys all prefer ketones because it's a much cleaner fuel. You don't have that oxidative stress. So, and I'm not a doctor, but you can fact check me on this. Do research yourself. I promise you, the miracle of carnivore, the miracle of fasting, the miracle of keto is getting those ketones so that your brain and your body, your heart especially, runs off ketones. So if you can get into nutritional ketosis, and I don't know exactly what that number is, but to where your body's burning ketones instead of glucose, it tends to be better for your heart. I've seen Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Sean O'Mara, Dr. Baker, and Dr. Berry have all done videos talking about ketones and the heart, even when it comes to AFib or congestive heart failure. And the consensus from all the doctors that I follow, again, I'm not a doctor, this is not medical stuff here, but do the research. I think your heart would prefer ketones, meaning I think in my honest opinion, that you would be less likely to have problems with AFib with a ketogenic diet or being in ketosis from a long fast than if you were eating carbohydrates and had the oxidative stress and the inflammation that comes with eating carbohydrates. And I'm not saying that you eat carbohydrates, but if you eat protein, if you eat excess protein, and I don't know what the definition of excess, I think it's different for every person. your body turns that into glucose through gluconeogenesis. But when you fast, your body can't do that because there is no protein to turn into glucose. But Brian has hit the nail on the head once again, as usual. Those electrolytes. It's the reason your heart beats. What makes your heart actually beat is the difference in electrical charge between sodium and potassium. When those two molecules pass by each other, an electron jumps off one onto the other, and I don't remember which one it is, but that's why your heart beats. That's why you blink. That's why your muscles work. That's why your thoughts work, is because of the difference in electrical charge between sodium and potassium. So it's really, really, really important that you take in the proper amount of electrolytes and you don't let those get out of balance, because it can really affect your heart rate. I didn't mean to get so long-winded there, but it almost defies logic that getting into ketosis would be bad for your heart when all the doctors that I follow, these are board-certified physicians, all say that. And if you look at, like, Dr. Omer did a great one on AFib and ketones, it stands to reason that you would not have. And I know it's easy to be anxious about it. I mean, I'm in AFib right now. My heart rate is just sitting here doing nothing, and I'm in AFib. I live in AFib. My heart rate's 114 just sitting here. So if that makes me at all an expert, I think you're going to be less likely to have problems as long as you keep your electrolytes up fasting than eating.
Yeah. We do have a question from DC, Wisconsin, but before I go there, I got two posts I want to bring up here. Comments. Jason, day 21 carnivore. So hello, Jason. Welcome. Feeling pretty good. I got way too consumed on all the carnivore miracle healing stories, and my healing is so damn slow. I had to turn off all those vids. Yeah, everybody is different. And I think healing comes at different stages for different people, and even for the same person. Like, I had a lot of things that actually did heal or improve right away, really quickly. But then there was, like, I had this shoulder injury, and it took a long time. It was like a year and a half later, and I was also taking something that might have helped with it as well, beyond carnivore. So, like, it improved a little bit, but it really took a long time. And you hear from a lot of people that don't see the same results that other people see. And it's just that different people are at different stages. Your body is going to heal what it thinks it needs to heal first. And it might be something that you're not noticing as much as something that you really want to see healed that might get healed first and take longer to get to that. Johnny, what do you think on this topic?
You're right, Brian. It's different for everybody. I've heard people go on carnivore, and the second or third day on carnivore, they say they completely quit snoring. That's amazing. It wasn't that quick for me. I eventually did quit snoring, but I had to lose a good bit of weight before I quit snoring. However, my plantar fasciitis, which was the whole reason I went on carnivore, to try to lose some weight to help my feet not hurt so bad from that plantar fasciitis, 2 weeks to the day, it's gone, and it has never come back. So there are certain things, and your body has to heal, and it starts in your liver. The fatty liver disease is one of the biggest problems we have. All the ultra-processed foods, the linoleic acid and all the seed oils and stuff like that, the polyunsaturated fats, that stuff builds up in your liver. Your liver is kind of like, the doctor of your body, for, if you'll pardon the pun there, pardon the expression. But so your liver has to heal. Once your liver gets cleared out, you'll start to see that healing happen. To Brian's point, it's probably going to be faster for some, slower than others. And like my arthritis in my right hip, it was one of the last things to go away. But when it went away, and it never came back, even though I've had multiple episodes of falling off the wagon. So just be patient. Don't give up. You're not going to experience the same thing that the next person experiences. Like Brian always says, don't compare yourself with everybody else. Compare yourself today from yourself yesterday. But if you give up and give in and dive into those temptations again, and they're all around, we get that completely, then you got to start over from day zero. So just be as strict as you can, be as disciplined as you can, especially at first. I focus on pasture-raised eggs and fatty red meat. If you do a lot of that, stay hydrated, salt, electrolytes, and try to get a really good night's sleep to give your body everything it needs to use the carnivore diet to heal you. I hope that helps.
And I want to add also, I have heard from people before that say that first 2 to 4 weeks or so, in some cases, some different issues they had actually felt worse and then it got better. So keep that in mind as well. Some people see that where their issue seems worse for a couple weeks and then it gets better. Coach Edens is here. Hello.
Hey, Coach.
And Cynthia said, welcome to the carnivore family, Jason. 21 days isn't that long. Give it time, and I wouldn't worry about fasting. I agree. If you can do some intermittent fasting where you only eat in like a 12 to 16 to, or not 12. I said that backwards. You'll eat like a 6 to 8 to maybe 12-hour window. So you're getting at least a 12 or a 16 or 18-hour intermittent fast. That is great, but I wouldn't worry early on about trying to do any longer term fasting. Okay.
Hey,
here's
Brian.
the question. Yes.
Oh, then before we ask that question, I just want to say one thing. After I got started on carnivore and I was having so many good things happen, I mean, it was a miracle. But my plantar fasciitis went away. I stopped snoring. Blood pressure came down. But I had about a 5 or 6 day stretch, 3 months into it, where I had lower back pain that was brutal. I mean, excruciating. It came out of nowhere. And I couldn't tie it to lifting anything heavy or twisting or anything. And I'd heard of oxalate dumping, and I don't know if that's what it was, but it was almost enough to break me. I just couldn't, I can't explain how bad and then I woke up one day and it went away and it never came back. So that was just an example of my body purging something that it didn't need, whether it be oxalates or whatever it was. And I've heard of other people having pains or rashes 2 or 3 months in, right? And so don't let that discourage you too. If you have something crop up that seems out of the ordinary, it could be your body purging toxins or poisons or oxalates or whatever. And just know that that's part of the process. You don't go your whole life eating garbage. And then like me, I went 56 years eating horrible diet. It takes time to undo a lot of that damage. So just be patient and give yourself grace and just be as disciplined as you can, and good things will happen eventually, I promise.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, Coach Eden said, congrats, Jason. I felt like crap for 30 days. My high blood pressure was gone and reversed diabetes within 3 to 4 months. So good there. Okay, let's go to the question. DC, Wisconsin. Any suggestions on food to break fast? Yeah. I'll start because I can be very simple. And then I'll hand it over to you again, Johnny. Basically what I do when I do a 48 or a 72-hour fast, I take, I have some, it's the powdered gelatin stuff, and I'll mix it in water with some Redmond salt and warm water, and I will drink that down. That'll be the first thing I'll do. Then about 30 minutes later, I'll have 1 or 2 eggs scrambled. And then about an hour later, I'll have my first meal, which is usually my first real meal, which is like a steak or 3 or 4 burger patties, something to that effect. So that's how I normally break it. And I will say, I'm the type of person that even if I've done that, I will still probably go to the bathroom once. But I'm not going to the bathroom 3, 4, 5 times in like an hour or two, like some people do when they just jump straight in. So, Johnny, what do you say for this one?
Well, the only thing I've ever done, Brian, is 2 to 3 scrambled eggs and a little bit of butter. For me, that's not a lot. I'm 6'1", 260 pounds. So that's not a lot of food for me, but I eat slow. I take my time. And I don't overeat. I think overeating, no matter what you eat, you can eat too much of it. And that's going to challenge your digestive system right there. I do see an awful lot of people that talk about fasting in this community and others talk about bone broth. Brian said he did the gelatin, but the bone broth is a big one too. And I know there's that brand Kettle and Fire you can buy, or you can make your own bone broth. So I think a lot of people will try some bone broth to help them break the fast, whatever. For me, I've just done the couple scrambled eggs and a little bit of butter, a little bit of Redmond's real salt. But like Brian, when I do it, no matter how I do it or how long I fast, I tend to go to the bathroom one time, and don't get between me and the bathroom when that happens. But it's not, it's one and done, and if you anticipate it and you break your fast when you know you're going to be close to a bathroom, for me, it's not that big of a deal. And I think it kind of helps clean you out the rest of the way. And I feel great, but I've heard people having to go multiple times, but for me, it's just one. It's not comfortable that one time, but then it's done, and I've completed my fast. I just wouldn't eat fatty red meat. I wouldn't eat a big old ribeye or tomahawk steak after a 72-hour fast. I think that would be kind of rough.
Yeah, I agree. Jason said, I have 60 pounds to lose and over 20 years of bad eating. So I guess 21 days is nothing in the grand scheme of things. I will give it time. I completely agree with that. Before I started carnivore, I had basically 48 years of bad eating. So it takes time. And that's what I remind myself now. Like, I think I've said this a few times before. I've been on carnivore for 3.5 years, and I don't look like some people that have been on carnivore for a year and got really, really thin. But that's just how my body is handling it. So, yeah. We got somebody else here with AFib. So I think our talking about AFib a lot is bringing more people here that are struggling with AFib, and this is good. We can all, communicate and share our experiences and so forth. So I think this is Mrs. A in Oklahoma. It's supposed to be. I struggle. Well, first of all, hello. Thanks for being here tonight. I struggle with AFib as well. My heart rate was running in the 140 to 160 range most of the day today. The beta blocker can cause your fat cells to ignore opening up to burn fat. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's true, but at some point in time, to maintain a 98.6 body temperature, but your body's going to get fuel from somewhere. If you don't put any carbohydrates in there and you limit your protein, I understand about beta blockers. I took them for years, but your body, either you're going to die or your body's going to begin to burn fat. It will have to get that energy from somewhere for you to breathe, blink, think, and keep a body temperature of 98.6. I'm in AFib too. I've been in AFib for over 2 years now, consistently. I'm in it 24/7, 365, but doing the carnivore diet, trying to get a good night's rest every night, doing my sprints, lifting weights, trying to get outside in the sun and the sunshine. I don't even know that I have AFib. If it went for an EKG, right now I don't feel any different than if I didn't have AFib. I feel fine. I do sprints, I lift weights, I jump rope, I do squats, I do, everything I can think of, and push-ups, all that stuff. And my recovery is better now in AFib than it was before I did carnivore and not in AFib. So I don't know if that gives you any encouragement. I hope it does. This is not, if you need to see your cardiologist or your electrophysiocardiologist, don't take our word. Go see your doctor if you think that the medication you're taking is not working. And see if your doctor, he or she, what their thoughts are on a very low carb, whole food diet. See if they're on board with that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. My cardiologist wasn't necessarily opposed to it, but he doesn't say anything. He's like, it's working because it's working, right? He doesn't understand why. He didn't think that diet could have anything to do with it, but he's like, I guess you're proving me wrong. So that's interesting. Susan down here, let's see. She says, doing well. 6 years of this lifestyle, no meds, no known illness, reverse high blood pressure, improved overall, deeply grateful, age 62. That's great, Susan. Congratulations.
Awesome.
And
Brian,
Rick says,
huh? Oh, I was just going to point out, I don't know if you saw Greg. Greg was in the chat in there too. Did you see Greg in there a while ago?
I did. I think I brought it up, but maybe we were talking, so I didn't really get to say anything.
I just want to say hi to Greg.
Yep, there he is. Hey, Greg. Yes. Greg's been putting videos out again more recently. He's trying to get back into. He's calling it, I think he's calling it carnivore, ketovore ish, low carb ish that he's doing. It sounds like it's mostly carnivore, maybe a few things here and there, but he's been putting videos out, I think, pretty much every day. So check out his new videos. Some of them have done pretty well. I think the video he put out yesterday has like 400 and some views, so it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of Greg's videos so far. I don't think I've missed any of them. I kind of prioritize Greg. He's my buddy.
Yeah. So going back to Rick, he says he poops once a day. I usually do too. Mm-hmm. What's funny is I'm pretty consistent with what I eat most of the time, especially when I'm at home, not traveling out of town, that type of thing. I eat a lot of beef, eggs, that kind of stuff, but it's a lot of the same thing. And pretty consistently, I will poop once a day. No issues with it. Last weekend, so not this weekend, but not this weekend we just had, I guess it was the weekend before that, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember at this point. But whenever it was, I went out of town and was out of town for like 3-4 days and just kind of broke my rhythm a bit. Ate well, at one fast food, I had Wendy's one day, got a couple of their double burger patty things. But then I had some eating out at restaurants. I had chicken wings one night. I can't remember. I think I had like a salmon thing one time. So it was a little bit different than what I'm used to eating. And it kind of threw off my rhythm. And by the time I got back home, my pooping wasn't quite the same. Like there was one day I didn't go, another day it took me a while to go. So I think because I wasn't doing my normal rhythm, I wasn't quite getting the normal amount of fat that I normally get. And that kind of affected me a little bit. And that's the thing, like you'll hear people say like, how can you not eat fiber? Like you have to have fiber to go to the bathroom. No, you just need to eat the proper amount of fat that humans should be eating, animal fat with their meat. And if I eat too lean, sometimes that causes a little bit of problem where I don't go to the bathroom enough. But normally I'm just like Rick, once a day. Oh, is that when you were when you went to visit him when you were driving the truck?
2 years ago yesterday. When we took this, it was literally 0 degrees that when we took this picture, 0 degrees. That was 2 years ago yesterday. It was when Greg and his wife were still living in northern Iowa. And Greg and his wife were so gracious. They had me come to their house. They had a full basement, and I slept downstairs in the basement, and we cooked ribeyes. And then the next day, Greg fixed a great breakfast for us. It was awesome. I'll never forget it, Greg. It was the time of my life. It was awesome. But Brian,
this weekend it's going to be 0 degrees again.
Yeah, but to your point, Brian, when I first started, we talk about fasting, and I don't know how much this has to do with it or how much this changes, because I did more fasting initially when I started carnivore because I thought that you had to do it off the bat. But when I first started carnivore, I went like 5 or 6 days without pooping. Then I'd poop, and I might go 3 or 4 days. And when I first did that, I wasn't having any stomach issues. I wasn't bloated. My stomach didn't hurt. But I went and bought Metamucil because I had never in my life been that long without pooping. Usually I had 2 or 3 bouts of diarrhea a day, every day for years and years. So to go, 4 or 5 days without a bowel movement, even though I had no symptoms, I started getting very scared. And I see a lot of this in comments on the videos and stuff. So I went and bought Metamucil and all that stuff and did all that. Over time, and especially when I started adding a little bit of ferments, I have the most normal, boring bathroom routine. I have a bowel movement every morning about 7 o'clock, like clock, where you can set your watch to it. And it feels so good not to have those stomach issues. No GERD, no bloating, no constipation, nothing. It's just as regular as it can be. And I eat 0 fiber. I eat a lot of butter and I eat a lot of fatty red meat and a lot of egg yolks. So I'm getting plenty of fat, but it's just, I think this is how humans are supposed to feel. I'm almost 60. Well, I'm almost 59. And I've never had a normal, healthy, digestive routine, if you will. And really in the last probably 6 months, you could set your watch by it. Every morning I get up, and before I get in the shower, I have a bowel movement, and then I start my day. And this is how people should feel. Going to the bathroom shouldn't be a struggle. It shouldn't be you shouldn't have to think about it, And carnivore with adding a little bit of ferments. And even when I did that 100-hour fast back in June, I think the third and fourth day I didn't have a bowel movement, but I had nothing in my gut, And on the fifth day, this is the last day of the fast, I did have a bowel movement, but it was a small one. And then I got back on a regular cycle after that. But it's funny how people have to think about going number 2 when your digestive system is so messed up from not eating a proper human diet.
I'm gonna bring this up here. So NP1324 has general question. I'm new here. Are either of you medical professionals? So thanks for joining tonight. Personally, I am not a medical professional. Johnny has some medical experience that I'll let him talk about. But I will tell you something. When it comes to nutrition, doctors tend to not get very much education on nutrition. First of all, there's so many other things that you have to cram into their time as a doctor that it's very hard to put that in, right? Not their time as a doctor, but their time in schooling. But they only get 1 semester on nutrition in college, I guess you want to say, whatever, medical school, whatever. And it is on how to keep somebody alive with a feeding tube that needs a feeding tube. So they actually don't get medical nutrition, if that's the right way to say it, I guess, or a lot of nutrition education. And you know what? No matter who you talk to, they tend to have different opinions about nutrition, right? There's plenty of doctors, there's plenty of cardiologists, there's plenty of nurses out there that will say one thing nutritionally, and then somebody else will say something different. So I don't know really that it matters if anybody is a medical professional when it comes to nutrition, because they're not really getting it, first of all, and they might be getting information that isn't accurate anyway. And I think you just have to kind of do your own research and decide what you feel you want to believe based on the research that you do on nutrition. I've done a lot of research on it, and I believe that low carb is the best way to go for humans. So Johnny, I'll let you go ahead and talk about your side of this.
Well, I am a paramedic. I've been a paramedic since 2001. I'm a former certified personal trainer. That's my educational experience. But anytime Brian and I talk about anything medical, we like to preface it by saying we're not doctors. I told this person earlier about their problems with AFib, that they should, see their cardiologist or their electrophysiocardiologist. I took care of my mom the whole time when she was in kidney failure, and then she died of cancer. Took care of my mother-in-law when she had Alzheimer's. I've spent an awful lot of time, most of my life. I have a brother that has epilepsy. I took care of him. He's doing great now, but when he had seizures, I was the one in the family that always had to take care of him. So I've kind of been in and around the medical lingo, if you will, for most of my life, but I have been a certified paramedic since 2001. So I do pre-hospital medicine, not in-hospital medicine. And I am a former certified personal trainer. I'm still a personal trainer, but my certification expired. I didn't keep up my CEUs on that because I went a different direction. But to Brian's point, we do recommend people check out doctors, to speak with their own doctor. My doctor, my general practitioner, who's a local doctor here, he and I are about the same age, and he's been my doctor for 15 years, I guess. Told me to stop, not to change what I'm doing. I've changed my life so much. I've lost 100 pounds. My blood pressure is normalized. My sleep apnea is gone. My plantar fasciitis is gone. My lower back pain, my osteoarthritis, all of that is gone. And I'm on 0 medications. I'll be 59 in about 6 weeks, and I take no medications whatsoever. So, but I do follow Dr. Sean O'Mara, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Robert Kiltz, Dr. who's the doctor in Chicago that we all love so much? Tony Hampton.
Yep.
Dr. Georgia Eade, she's a Harvard physician. Dr. Jason Fung, who's a nephrologist. So there's a multitude of doctors that I have done a good bit of research. I've read their books. I watched their online stuff. And so far, it's working fantastic for me. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And I'm a year away from being 60. And I've never, ever, ever felt this good. So take it for what it's worth.
Camden says, scooping hamburger grease from pan over my burger, yummy. You know what? I can't remember. I think this was Dr. Tony Hampton was just talking about this. I think there was one video I just saw, and it was from a doctor. I think it was Dr. Tony Hampton, where they were talking about basically, when you cook burgers, you're losing a lot of the fat that is good. Maybe it was Dr. Anthony Chafee, actually, now that I think about it. I think it was Dr. Anthony Chafee, which is another doctor, by the way, I think that you didn't mention, but
Right.
He said that when you cook burgers or any type of meat, like in a pan or something like that, you're losing a lot of that fat. And the best thing to do is when you put that on your plate is to scoop a bunch of that fat back on top of that, so that you're getting some of that fat, because the fat is really nutritionally good for you. So that's funny. I just want to bring that up because I saw that post. There is a lot of talking in here about sardines. Yeah.
Amy loves
loves sardines. I think Coach Enos is saying they are so good for us. I think she's talking about the sardines. Mrs. A in Oklahoma, sardines. Now, Cynthia says, I can't say that I love sardines yet. Who knows? Perhaps I'll be able to say that with the next sardine challenge. I really don't want to do a sardine challenge. I did one with Greg. What was that? 2 or 3 years ago? That was enough.
You know who talked about sardines a lot? Brian, you know who talked about Dr. Boswell, Annette Boswell, Dr. Bos, another doctor that I follow. She is a board certified practicing physician. She is on fire with the sardine thing lately. She is really, a lot of her recent stuff is talking about it's tough to beat. Obviously, beef liver, I think, is, especially from a healthy cow, beef liver is probably one of the most nutrient dense foods we can eat. But man, she is on fire about sardines lately. I've never had one, but I'm going to try it. But I'm probably going to do mustard or hot sauce. I know that's not completely carnivore, but if it has a fishy taste, I will puke on screen. So I'm going to throw some hot sauce, some arugula hot sauce or some mustard in there, and I'm going to give it a try. I've got to now. It's so many people are talking about it. I'm not going to let it pass me by.
I don't think it tastes too fishy. I thought it kind of tasted a little bit like chicken. For me, it's just the smell. They're very smelly. And of course, when Greg and I did the sardine challenge, I was holed up in a room, and like a little small bedroom, and I had the door closed and stuff because we were doing the live stream, and it really started to stink in there, let me tell you. So that's the biggest thing for me, I think, is the smell. They're very nutritious. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good nutrients in them. But I stay away from them. DC, Wisconsin, my sardine challenge is to just try one.
One.
North Dakota Carnivore Lance is here. Hello.
Hey,
good
Lance.
to see you. Yes, I think this is when I was talking about the beef thing with the ground beef, the burger patties, whatever, or maybe it was just ground beef, whatever it was, losing the fat off of it. That was Dr. Anthony Chafee. I do remember now. Just one of his recent videos. Let's see. Kelly Hogan says, you can tell if you have true hunger if you'd eat a sardine. Otherwise, it's just hunger noise or whatever they call it. Yeah.
Boredom.
I don't know. Again, like, I didn't think the taste was that bad. I just had, it really smells. And I'm good just eating steak or burger patties or something like that. So I don't know. Oh, there's more sardines talk. The sardine fast last month went great. We'll do another in February. Cynthia says, I remember when you and Greg did the sardine challenge, Brian, you looked a bit green even talking about. I was really worried about it going into it, and I didn't know what it was going to taste like. Just I don't know. It's okay. It's like, you know how now the food pyramid's upside down, right? And there's complete change to what people have known for so long, and everybody's like, the common person out there is like, this is crazy. Like, we know that saturated fat is bad for you, blah blah blah, because their entire life that's all they've known, right? That's kind of how it is like with sardines. My entire life, the thought of sardines is like, ugh. So I was really worried going into that challenge. And I got to say, it did not taste bad at all. It was just the smell. The smell with that door closed got rough. I had air freshener I was spraying in there. It got rough. And that was like probably like a 2-hour live stream or something like that. Oh, it got rough in there. So let's see. NP1324-1324, however you want to say that. Says great response. Yes, I agree. If you feel healthier and your medical doctor is happy, then all power to you. Apart from Dr. Baker I just think he's a salesman. Again, though very neutral reply. Yeah. You know what is interesting is when you talk to a doctor, or like in my case, like my cardiologist, and they say, you know, you can lose weight and it's going to help with your AFib. It's going to help with health stuff. But what you're eating isn't going to make a difference. Like, you're still going to have AFib. It's going to keep getting worse, that kind of stuff. And then it goes basically away. I can't say it completely goes away because I don't know. It's been 3.5 years. Maybe it'll come back at some point. But I went from having 2 to 3 episodes every week to none in 3.5 years. And now all of a sudden it's like, it doesn't make sense, but it seems like what you're doing eating wise is working. And, you know, at first I didn't even tell them what I was doing, but they were like, so you lost weight. Your AFib is gone. They did all kinds of tests, you know, couldn't find any evidence of having any more AFib episodes. I was like, what are you doing? It's like, well, didn't want to say carnivore. So I just said, I'm doing low carb. And it's like, really? I wouldn't have thought that, but interesting. I can't deny it because it seems to be working, right? And it's just interesting that, you know, people always think that doctors are going to know everything, especially with diet, and they really don't. And even with like other things, there are times like I've gone to the doctor and I've asked like, well, what about this or something? And some doctors that are going to be really genuine are going to be like, you know, I don't know. Let me look that up. Because they don't know everything. They can't possibly know everything, right? So they might have good ways of researching things and looking things up, but yeah, they don't necessarily know everything. So,
hey, Brian,
where are we? Yes.
Let me reel us back into the topic if I can. We're talking about fasting. I sent you an email earlier and you said you had it. So we talked earlier about fasting for 24, 48, 72 hours, intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting. But what's the longest you could possibly go fasting and still be okay? What's the longest fast a person could do? Any idea?
You're asking me. Well, I don't remember the exact, but I know it was like 382 days or something like that.
Yeah. Do you have the email?
Which is crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Let me bring it up. There you go. 382 days.
Yeah. 382 days. So I watched a documentary on this. You guys can look it up on YouTube and some of the other platforms out there. You know, this is back in 1965. So even before I was born in 67. So there was this guy, Angus Barbary. I think I'm saying his last name correctly, was morbidly obese, which was very, very, very rare back in those days. It's normal now. You go to Walmart, you see it everywhere. But back in 1965, especially in that part of the world, I think he was from Austria, somewhere there. Anyway, he was morbidly obese. So the medical doctor put him on a medically supervised fast, and he went over a year. 365 days is a year. He went 382 days. He had water, unsweetened tea, which is probably hot tea over there, black coffee, and they gave him vitamin and yeast. And he lost, I can't remember how much weight he lost, but he was like in his 30s when they did all this. He went on to live a normally, lifespan. He's passed away now, but he had a normal life. And I think down there, he started out at 456 pounds and he got down to 180, 190 pounds. I think he put 10 or 15 pounds back on, but I mean, he fasted, no nutrition in his mouth other than the vitamins and some coffee and water for 382 days. So when people say, oh, fasting for more than 2 or 3 days is dangerous, it is for the person that doesn't need to fast, the person that doesn't have a lot of body fat or visceral fat to use as an energy source. But for people like me and Brian and other people, like I figure if 3,500 calories makes up 1 pound of fat. I burn on average, 2,400 calories a day if I have a relatively active day, and 60 pounds overweight. So I could probably go, 70 days. I could probably fast for 70 days and still be okay. I don't plan on doing that. But if you do the math and think about if I kept my electrolytes up, kept vitamins up, stayed hydrated and all that stuff, I probably could go 70, 75 days and be just fine. I might kill some people around me, but it could be done. I mean, this guy went 382 days and ended up living a normal, healthy, long life. Anyway, I was just trying to bring us back.
I don't think I'd ever try that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever try that long of a fast. I'm perfectly fine with no more than 72 hours myself, but that's me. Camden says, just to add my 2 cents to the fasting discussion, I fasted 36 hours 2 days ago and lost 3 pounds. That is true. Fasting does wonders for that. Every time I have done 48, 72 hour fast, I've lost like 2, 3, 4 pounds every time I've done it. Now when I start eating again, I might gain a pound back or 2 pounds back, something like that. Because in some cases, it's just like water weight, that kind of thing. But yeah. Another thing in here about AFib. North Dakota Carnivore Lance. I had a cath ablation in 2017. No AFib anymore. I wish I would have known about carnivore before I had that surgery. Years on meds that only worked for a short time. Yeah, I'll tell you, some people I've heard have not been able to get rid of their AFib without an ablation. I think, Johnny, you've been in that situation yourself. In my case, my cardiologist was actually talking to me a bit about an ablation because I was going into it so much at the time that I decided to go low carb and then carnivore and got rid of it. I should mention, by the way, I did first kind of go keto, low carb-ish for about 2 to 3 months, and it did not change my AFib. It wasn't until I went completely carnivore, completely cutting out carbohydrates, that my AFib episodes seemed to go away. So that was interesting for me. But yeah, it worked that way for me, that by going this way, I didn't have to get the ablation, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. However, if you have an ablation and you don't do anything to change how you're eating, you're probably going to get AFib back again at some point. So it's good that you did have the ablation, that now you're doing carnivore, because that's going to help probably keep you from going back into it, where somebody that just goes back to eating the same way they did, doing the same thing that they did before the ablation, is probably eventually going to get AFib back again. So,
hey, Brian, can I speak on that real quick?
Yep.
So I had an ablation in, I think, September of 2021, and it worked. And this is long before I found carnivore. I was had a few episodes a couple of days after the ablation, which they said was kind of normal because it's such an insult to your heart. But then once those few episodes went away, I was AFib free until 2024, I think it was, or 2023, I guess. And I had found carnivore, was doing great, had lost weight, was feeling amazing, was laying in bed at night and feel my pulse and feel how normal my heart was. It was just doing great. And then I started a trucking company. I had done that years before. I decided to go back into it. The trucking industry right now is not the place to be, trust me. And I invested tons and tons of money, took out a huge loan and tried to get my trucking company going. And the market just wasn't the same. I was under a ton of stress. I was doing my YouTube channel. I was working out like crazy, doing push-ups, challenges, jump ropes, running. I was doing everything. I was under a mountain of stress and I fell off the carnivore diet. I started eating garbage after garbage. I mean, just binge eating garbage. And then one day I was doing push-ups, and he doesn't know this, but Hoosier Carnivore and I had met in Indianapolis and we're spending the day together. And Brett, Hoosier Carnivore, if you're familiar with him, and I was going to show off and try to do 50 push-ups as fast as I could right there in front of him in Indianapolis in the parking lot of a truck stop. And on the 49th push-up, I went back into AFib, and I've been in AFib ever since. But I was pushing myself beyond, you know, what a fit person my age and that fitness level should be doing. I was eating terribly. I was under probably the most stress I've ever felt in my entire adult life. And all that added up, and it put me back in AFib. My doctor and I have discussed doing another ablation. There's one now where they use radio frequency. The first ablation I had, they used cryo. They froze part of my heart. This one is supposed to have 10 or 15% better results, safer, cheaper, all that stuff. So I haven't ruled out in the future maybe doing this ablation, the radio frequency ablation. It's called RFA. But as I was saying earlier, and Brian knows this, I'm in AFib right now, but I don't know that I'm in AFib. I have the energy of an 18-year-old. I run, I lift weights, I jump rope, I do everything. My recovery is almost immediate. And so I don't know if I want to go through the risk of doing any type of surgery that I don't know I'm getting, you know, I'm not going to feel better on the other side of it, because I feel as good now as I did right after the ablation when I was not in AFib. I don't know how to explain it. Even my cardiologist, my electrophysiocardiologist, says it kind of defies logic. I've showed him my videos of me doing sprints and lifting weights and jumping rope and all that stuff. And he knows how old I am, of course. And he says, John, you're doing really well. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. And let's say he's open to doing another ablation maybe next year if I can't ever get out of AFib on my own. But so far, it's not really, and maybe later on, because your heart does start to change. You have remodeling of the heart if you stay in AFib for long periods of time. But he says he can't give me a good reason why I should take the risk. And because surgery, you go under anesthesia, there's going to be a risk. Even if it's small risk, it's still a risk. So I'm glad your ablation worked. Just try to stay strict to the diet, stay true to yourself, and limit stress, and don't binge eat on honey buns.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to bring up some comments in here about fasting. North Dakota Carnivore Lance, for the month of January, I am doing rolling 48 to 72 hour fasts. Just broke a fast today. Starting a new fast as of 6 p.m. tonight for 72 hours. Wow. Great job. Cynthia says Robin does a 30-day fast every year. Also, she does it for spiritual reasons. Is that Carnivorous Grandma we're talking about?
Robin Herring?
Maybe? Yeah, maybe. Bryce Biscuit says Jerry does 40 on the regular.
Wow.
40-day fast, that is. And Lance again said, I have only fasted up to 144 hours, 6 days, nothing more. These are all like longer fasts that I've ever done. Like my longest was 72 hours. So Mrs. A in Oklahoma says, Dr. Canberry says you don't need to fast, just eat when you're hungry until you're comfortably full. And that is true. You don't really need to fast. Again, like as Johnny said, if you're trying to get rid of a lot of body fat, fasting is a tool you can use that helps. It tends to help speed it up. But it also, if you're just eating when you're hungry until you're comfortably full, you're probably doing a form of fasting, which is called intermittent fasting, which also helps with body fat. So while it's not the full or long-term fasting, it's still intermittent fasting, 18 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, whatever. That's considered intermittent fasting. And that works great too for getting rid of body fat. Coach Eden says, I don't fast. And I had never done anything other than intermittent fasting until like November. And, I'm 3.5 years on carnivore, by the way. Bryce Biscuit, under 48-hour fast so far. I lose 1 pound, which is good. My Joe weight loss is about 1.5 to 2 pounds a month. There's nothing wrong with 1.5 to 2 pounds a month either. You're still making progress, right? Lance had the radio frequency ablation that you were talking about. I was scheduled for 2 to 3 hour surgery, and it went 5.5 hours. They found more than they expected. Wow. Let's see. A lot of good comments today.
Brian, when I fasted before, I don't mean to interrupt you there, but somebody said they do it for spiritual reasons. About 48 hours or 50 hours into the fast, I get a spiritual feeling. I feel connected to God, connected to the earth. It really does kind of wipe away a layer of cloudiness. Every time I fasted, I just feel really alive. I get this, maybe it's my heightened sense of awareness of everything. But when I fast, I do get a kind of a psychological or emotional effects from it too, not just the burning of the fat, but I don't know. It's a unique feeling that the only way I've ever experienced that feeling is doing an extended fast. And it's pretty amazing feeling. It's almost euphoria.
Yeah. I mean, take it for what it's worth, but there is research out there that says that fasting helps with getting rid of brain fog, clearing your mind, getting rid of stress, stuff like that. And those are all things that are going to help you to get more into that spiritual feeling, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Lance says, my AFib also manifested after I had lost 80 pounds and was working out insanity 6 days a week for 4 years.
Yep. I think that's what happened to me. I think I pushed my body too hard and it pushed me back into AFib.
Yeah. Yeah, just stressing your body a little bit too much, getting the heart rate up there a bit too much, and tries to go in. Spinky says, I had 45 wings tonight, salt and pepper. I might have overdid it, but it was yummy. Lost more weight this month, down to 238, which is way down from where I was 18 months ago. Congrats.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Good. Yep. 45 wings, man. That's impressive, I gotta say. I've eaten like maybe 24 before, and I was pretty full. The thing I'll say though, with chicken wings, it doesn't hold the satiety. Did I say it right?
Satiety.
Satiety. There you go. It doesn't hold the satiety as long as eating beef for me. So while I have done that where I ate a bunch of wings and I felt full, I got hungry again quicker than I would have if I was eating beef. I love chicken wings though. I love them. Mrs. A in Oklahoma says AFib can cause a blood clot, which puts you at risk of stroke without blood thinners. That is true. Even
however,
really a couple of seconds could cause that because it can pull up in whatever was at the left ventricle, I think.
Left atrial appendage.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's truth in what they're saying. It does put you at a greater risk of stroke, but my doctor took me off of blood thinners because blood thinners don't come without risk. So everything in medicine is a risk benefit analysis. So if you're an older person, you're on blood thinners, you're in a car wreck, you fall and hit your head, you get kicked in the stomach, your liver, your spleen, you can bleed out. When you take blood thinners, your blood is thinner and it will not clot. So my doctor said that it's called the, I can't remember the name of the test, but it's VAS-CHAD score, CHADS-VAD score. It all stands for something. But basically, if you score like 2 or lower on this test, then you don't do blood thinners. So my doctor took me off of blood thinners because he said, John, the risk, when you have AFib, you have on the top left side of your heart, it's called the left atrial appendage. That's this little finger-looking thing that sticks up on the left top of your heart. We're not really sure what that's even for or why it's there, but it's there. And blood gets up inside of there and it just turns inside there. And that's where a blood clot can form. It's not like blood clots are forming all over your body. It's one very specific place in your heart, the left atrial appendage. And that's where blood clots come from. And it does increase your risk, but it doesn't mean like you're got a 50% chance of having a stroke. It means that based on the regular population, you're 10% higher. So out of 100 people, maybe 1.5 or 2 have a stroke on the ratio. But it certainly does increase your risk of stroke. So I have asked about having a procedure called the
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but
the Whipple. Is Whipple? Anyway, it's a surgery where they go in there and that they just put a plug up in that little appendage. Either they clamp it off or they stick a plug up in there, and then it eliminates then your risk of having a stroke is no greater than the general population. However, because my blood pressure is low, I've never had seizures, all my labs are good. Everything that they look at that CHAS-VAD score, mine is so good that my insurance will not pay for me to have that it's called the Watchman procedure. Won't pay for me to have that because they say your risk is so low. So if you have AFib, you definitely want to see a doctor. Don't listen to anybody on YouTube. You go see a cardiologist if you have AFib and get on whatever they suggest. But for me, my doctor literally told me to stop taking the blood thinners because blood thinners don't come without risk of their own. If you're in a frontal crash in your car and that seatbelt grabs you across the liver and you're on blood thinners and they don't catch that you're bleeding, it can go south fast, even with head injuries. So, it's a blanket statement that you need male blood thinners, but there's a little bit of caveat to that. But do whatever your doctor says to do. Don't take my word for it. I can just say my doctor told me not to take the blood thinners anymore for right now. As long as I continue to live the lifestyle I'm living.
My dad had AFib as well, and as he got older, they took him off the blood thinners because of the higher risk of falling as you get older. Yep. And again, it's like you said, it's a risk assessment, and you don't want to bleed out. So there's that too. Another thing that my cardiologist talked to me about at one point was beta blocker, because there are some issues that can happen from beta blockers. Some people have different side effects and things that can happen over time with taking a beta blocker. So there's this risk assessment too with that. If you're going into AFib and your heart rate is really getting really high, your blood pressure gets high, that could be a cause for stroke as well. But if you're not really getting too high, they're probably going to take you off beta blocker at some point too, because they don't really want you to be on that long term, because at least some doctors will tell you this, because there are so many different things that can happen. So like Johnny says, you definitely need to consult with cardiologists on your situation. Let's see. There's so many comments. I am so far beyond. I am tempted to try some fasting. Did a 40-hour fast for the colonoscopy, bro.
Yeah.
That's one way to do a fast. And he felt good doing it. Okay.
Brian, it gets back to what you said earlier about like the food pyramid being switched upside down. For years and years and years, people have had this idea in their mind of what the food pyramid should be, and now we flipped it upside down. So people are having a hard time. Sardines, your whole life you thought sardines were terrible, so you didn't. It's just like that with fasting. I think so many people think, oh, I would never be able to fast. My sister, who I love to death, said, oh, I can never go more than 8 hours without eating. That's crazy. So it's this preconceived notion that it's going to be terrible, it's going to be hard, it's going to be impossible, it's going to be very uncomfortable. But really, I don't think it's that bad. Once I did the first one, I said, oh, what was I so afraid of? It really turned out to be a lot easier. Once you push through those first couple of hunger pains, it gets easier. So fasting is not this impossible mountain to climb. Maybe if you're trying to do 40 days of fasting, but to do 1 or 2 days of fasting is not nearly as hard as I think most people would think.
DC Wisconsin says, I did the old ablation in 2023, 4 hours. They got everything but esophagus area. AFib came back, but meds and cardioversion worked better post ablation. That's good. Expect radio frequency in my future. Yeah.
Probably me too.
That's one thing that I've heard a lot from people that have had an ablation, is that eventually it ends up coming back. So yeah. And I'm going to just say, there's different types of AFib. I haven't had persistent AFib. So I've had where I come in and out of it and on my own. And I think my AFib probably isn't as bad as what other people have. Like Johnny, you've got the persistent one, but with the different types of AFib, that who knows, like Johnny's been trying so hard to get out of it and it's not happening. He probably ends up needing to have the ablation, but hopefully with eating this way now, it won't come back, or if it does, it won't be as bad, that type of thing. So,
right.
Lance, I thought this was pretty cool. 2020 found that he had high blood pressure. 4 years later, he was on 5 blood pressure medications and wasn't getting any better. That's when he found carnivore. 6 weeks in, with the help of his doctor, he came off all 5 blood pressure medications. That is really cool. Congratulations. I will say my blood pressure is better. It's under control. But it's taking a long time with carnivore for me. So it just shows how some people are different. I've heard people that have said that their blood pressure went down fairly quickly, and other people that it took a long time. So I guess it's just everybody's different, right? That's why, like you said earlier, compare yourself to yourself, not to others.
Yeah. Brian, real quick on that. If anybody out there is on blood pressure medicine, hey, Christy, if anybody else out there is on blood pressure medicine and you're trying to come off it and you're doing carnivore, keto, fasting, whatever method you're using, trust me on this. Just trust me. Do not abruptly stop taking blood pressure medicine. We're not real big on going to your doctor, but this is one area where you absolutely, positively have to work with your doctor to come off blood pressure medicine. If you suddenly stop take blood pressure medicine, you can have something called rebound or reflex hypertension, which can kill you. I've been a paramedic since 2000 really, and I have seen this happen on multiple occasions. The family said, "Oh, she stopped taking her blood pressure medicine because she didn't like the way it made her feel," and she's dead now. He's dead now. If you're on blood pressure medicine, you want to work with your doctor. I don't care if your doctor is on board with keto or carnivore or not. Do not, please do not abruptly stop taking blood pressure medicine. It can be catastrophic. That's the one time more than anything, that insulin, things that you take on a regular basis like that are that detrimental to your health. If you don't have them, or if you do have too much of them or whatever, work with your doctor on blood pressure medicine, insulin, things like that. That's my soapbox. Okay, Brian, continue.
No, that's good info. Christy, Meeting Wellness is here. Hello.
Hey,
good
Christy,
to see
great
you.
to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while, I think. All right, we are caught up on comments. Did we talk about all that we really wanted to with fasting? Was there any piece of it that we didn't really talk about?
One last little thing, Brian, before we went on air, I went on Chat GPT, mine and your friend there on Chat GPT. And so one of the things that we do fasting for, and if you've done any research at all on fasting, we're looking for autophagy, right? We're trying to get in autophagy. That's the body's system where it clears out the old dead cells, or the parts of the cell that are old or wore out and dying. Your body chews them up, eats them, and creates new cells and new organelles within the cell. So it's like a rebirth or a cleaning process at the cellular level for your body. That's the advantage of fasting. So I wanted to know, because I've heard it takes 48 hours, 12 hours, 72 hours, 50 hours, all these different numbers to tell me exactly when do you get into autophagy. Well, according to Chat GPT, and I thought I had it pulled up, but it went away. There's really no one specific answer, and all the data we have is from animal studies, rat studies, really. But basically, after about 12 hours, your insulin levels begin to come down. If you don't eat anything else, and after 12 hours of having a meal, you begin to go into maybe light autophagy, where you get some rebuilding or some churning of the cells, old cells die, new cells coming. But about between 50 to, I think I said 48 to 72 hours, somewhere in there, you kind of max out. You're getting the most autophagy you can get. So going 50 days or 30 days or 20 days, you're not going to get a deeper amount of autophagy. You kind of have this law of diminishing return. So basically, from what ChatGPT said, 72 hours is kind of the sweet spot. That's when you're going to be maxed out on getting that turning over the cells, the old cells dying and being eaten up, and new cells coming from that. And it could be stem cells, it could be liver cells. And a lot of times it's an intracellular process. It's inside the cell, not the cells themselves, but things within the cell. So seems like from the research I did prior to coming online tonight, about 72 hours is the sweet spot. That's when you've kind of maxed out on the autophagy. So if you go, say, 96 hours or 100 hours or 144 hours, you're probably going to begin to see a slight decline in autophagy. Or it may actually stay the same, but it's not like you're going to have more autophagy if you do multiple days, based on the research that I did 5 minutes before we came on.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to blood pressure really quick, because I have a story to give on my own experience here. What Spanky has here. It says my dad is 78, was on blood pressure meds. He stopped them willy-nilly. I told him not to, but he will not listen. He's 18 months carnivore, and I'm worried. So I said that I was on high blood pressure medication, right? And that my blood pressure is improved, but it's taken a long time. I'm still actually on medication. When I started carnivore, I was taking 20 milligrams twice a day. Once in the morning, once at night. I'm now down to just once a day, 5 milligrams. So it's slowly gone down. My doctors have slowly weaned me off of it, but I probably could have been weaned off all the way already by now. Our blood pressure seems to be good, but I haven't gone completely off of it yet. So to Johnny's point about doing that very slowly with a doctor, that's very good advice. So I hope that you can get him to work with his doctor on that.
Yeah. At least take blood pressures multiple times a day. Have him track it, as often as feasible, because here's the thing. If you do the carnivore diet or keto, or you start doing fasting and your blood pressure comes down and you continue to take that same amount of blood pressure medicine, your blood pressure could bottom out. It could go too low, which can cause you to faint, pass out, hit your head, crash your car, or whatever. So this is a tedious process. It's not rolling the dice, a shot in the dark. That's why working with a doctor, your physician, I think is important. Your dad's 78. He did it. And hopefully he'll just keep a good eye on that blood pressure. Hopefully the carnivore will keep his blood pressure like it does mine, keep it completely normal. I wish he would have worked with his doctor, but he's 78 and probably, like a lot of people that age group, kind of set in their ways. And I just pray that everything goes well for him, and just keep an eye on that blood pressure. He may end up being okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, hopefully everything goes well for him. All right. So we're getting close to our normal hour and a half point. Let's see here. Bringing something up here really quickly. So where is today? Today's the 21st. Okay. So I just bringing up a note here. In February 5th, as a matter of fact, Thursday, I am going to be on with Dr. Kiltz live stream at 4:30 p.m. So put that in your calendars and check us out. I think that's going to be pretty cool. And I think I have another live stream actually a few days after that, but I don't want to say anything yet because I don't know if everything's completely finalized there. So I won't say anything, but I'll be on another live stream like that next Monday, I think. So gonna have a couple live streams coming up. Johnny, what you got going on with your channel and so forth? Anything different? Anything new?
Yeah, I've kind of got into this routine, Brian, where I'm doing a video every Wednesday. I do a video, it goes out, 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday. And then I always, try to pump our show for the night. Hey, join Brian and I tonight. Well, today's video was about carnivore and mental health. And I think it's one of my better videos. I talk about my mom who suffered from, she's passed away now, God rest her soul. She struggled with anxiety, depression, a lot of mental health issues. She also had a terrible diet. And I think it took her from us way too early. And she struggled with mental health issues. And I think a lot of people that we've seen, there's people that have been in our chat before that have struggled with mental health issues that carnivore has helped to level off. We'll say, maybe it didn't cure them, but maybe it made their life a lot better. Because as I say in my video today, if you guys would check it out, it's on my channel, of course, and it's called Carnivore and Mental Health. But I think everybody wants to, live a happy life. It's one thing to be healthy and not take any medicine and all that stuff. But if you're not happy, if you don't enjoy being alive and enjoy being a part of this human race, then is it really all that? You know what I'm saying? So check out my video about carnivore diet and mental health. Christy, who was on here a while ago, Meeting Wellness, check out her channel. She can speak to that a lot. She has one of her sons had some issues, and the carnivore diet completely changed his life. And so that's an area that I'm really thinking about lately, Brian, is just the carnivore diet and how it affects our mental health. So if you guys will check out that video on my channel if you get a chance, and I hope to have another video out next Wednesday. And of course, Brian and I will be back next Wednesday night with another Real Talk with Brian and Johnny.
Yeah. Cynthia thinks we should do a show on mental health. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we can do that. I don't know why, but for some reason I've had problems today where like 2 or 3 different times the comments stopped showing up on my screen. And then after like 5 minutes, like 7 or 8 or 10 comments just load up. It's weird. I don't know if you've had the same thing happen on your end, but that's definitely happens on my side for some reason.
Yeah, I've done some weird thing. I'm going scrolling through now, seeing comments I didn't see before.
Okay, so maybe there's something going on with StreamYard, which is the software that we use to do our live stream. I don't know. So I apologize if we miss anything. But as Johnny says, we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll come up with a topic. Maybe it'll be the mental health one. That might be a good topic to do. So next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central time. And until then, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.